So you've given us your money and said, make me an investment. And guess what? It's been a pretty good investment. If we look at the disbursements that we have distributed since 1993, you can see that we started off obviously with about $60,000 that first year, because the first equity raise was $600,000. That was our smallest raise. Our largest raise was $25 million, and that was in 2004. It was the worst year of my life. Thank you, Jack, for bringing me on board. But that was also our best acquisition. That was the Tucson properties. We're projecting that this year we're going to be sending out $13.5 million to our investors. Overall, since 1993, we have had a total invested dollars of $155 million. We have returned, in the form of quarterly disbursements, $81 million back to the investors. And the last appraised value of the equity as of 12/31 was $176 million. So it's not been a bad investment for all of us, and we thank you. So that's kind of where we have been and where we are today. So where are we going tomorrow? And you've all read the letters, because we are up against a rule. And there's some things we do know, there's some things we don't know, and there's some things that we're working on. So I'm going to take you through what we think is going to happen and the stuff we definitely know, and bear with us, we're working on some of the other. What we know: HA is going to stay private. It's going to stay private. We do not want the government regulations that would occur if we were a registered public company. We would have to abide by Sarbanes-Oxley, which is all of the accounting regulations that we estimate would cost the portfolio $1 million a year to jump through those government hoops. We don't want to do it. The other thing, and probably the most important thing in my mind, is we would have to bring in an outside board of directors. And I'm an investor too, and I kind of like the way management has dealt with my investment. Do not want to bring in a group of outside investors to take over the company. That's not why we built the company. So that being said, we're going to stay private. There is a rule that we can stay private as long as we do not have more than 500 investors. We thought we had 2 or 3 more years. We knew about this rule, but we thought we had about 2 or 3 more years. But due to a new interpretation of an old rule, yeah, right, we are very close to the 500 investors now. Because prior, the way we were counting prior, if we had a husband who invested and a wife who invested, that was a household. We counted it as 1, 2. We have somebody that invests their regular money, and then somebody, and that same person has an IRA. 1 person, right? 2. That's what happened to take us up to the 500 regulation, that each individual entity or every investment that's made in how many ever means all counts individually. So we found this out about a month or so ago, while we were currently in the current raise for the properties that we're bringing in now. So we determined that this would probably be the last raise for HA to keep us under the 500 regulation. So when we get to 500, we also know that we can't bring in any more new investors. That's it. The other thing that we know is that we will try to take advantage of opportunities that we feel are coming down the line in 3, 4, 5, 6 years to be a seller's market, and to take advantage of that opportunity to liquidate part or all of HA to bring about the best profit to our investors. It is our fiduciary responsibility to return the best profits to our investors. So those are kind of the things we do know. What we're working on, we also know that we're going to create a new investment vehicle. Okay, we have to close HA. but we also want to keep doing what we're doing. So we know we are going to create a new portfolio. It's going to be a little bit different. It has to be, so that it looks a little bit different, so they don't just say, wait a second, this is the same portfolio, you're just trying to stay under 500. We do know that it would be multifamily residential. That's what we do. That's all that we do, and we do that well, and we're not going to change that. We also know that the emphasis will be on cash flow disbursements, just like HA1. That's what we're all in here for, is our quarterly disbursements. We also know that we want to keep it a pass-through tax benefit entity. We all like getting our K1s at the end of the year and having some tax benefit on there. And we also know that we will probably go with an LLC versus a limited partnership. They're both pass-through entities. An LLC is a more modern version of a partnership, and it still has the pass-through capabilities. So what we're working on is the detailed structure of HA2. Other than that list that we had right here, that we know what's going to happen with HA2, the details we haven't worked out yet. So we're working on the detailed structure of what HA2 will look like. We're also working on the individual strategy for each property. If we choose to liquidate HA1 somewhere down the line when the market turns and it is a seller's market, we want to know that we've got a strategy in mind for each property. It may be that this property, because it's coming up for refinance, makes a lot more sense to sell today instead of waiting. Other properties, it may be, Doug, let's do some more unit upgrades on this particular property to stage it. So that's part of what we're working on, is the overall plan of what would we do with each one of these properties if we were to liquidate. The other thing we're working on is to make sure that we have a means for you to continue to invest. If we sell HA1 to give you an opportunity, if you so choose, to move your money once we liquidate and cash you out and you pay your capital gains tax. I hope if we do it right, we'll all have a lot of capital gains tax to pay. To move your money then into HA2 if you wanted to. So those are the things that we're working on. That being said, there's a lot of questions going on. So let's talk about a couple of them. Why would we sell HA, the current portfolio? There's several things. One of the Jackisms that we live with is if you're not growing, you're going backwards. And we've lived with that. That is the way we look, if you're not growing. And we've got a portfolio that wouldn't be growing. The second thing is our fiduciary responsibility to try to maximize the profits to our investors. And if we feel, and that's what we think is going to happen in the market in the next 5 years or so, is that there is going to be pent-up demand, because you can't buy property now. There's a lot of people that can't. We are in an enviable position to have equity and a lender. So we're able to buy, but there's a lot of people that aren't. And we feel that the demand that's going to be out there in 5 years is such that we can produce some very good profits from this portfolio. And that's what we would do. Second question, can't we keep growing HA with the current investors? Yes, we could. We could keep buying property and pay for it and do equity raises with just the current investors.